a founding member of the United Federation of Planets. The Andorian people hailed from the frozen moon Andoria, orbiting a ringed gas giant in the Beta Quadrant. As one of many humanoid species in the galaxy, it is possible their history stretched back 4.5 billion years to a powerful progenitor species that seeded life on many worlds, some of which evolved into humans, Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians, and others. According to Andorian mythology, their people originated in a paradise similar to the Garden of Eden on Earth, or Sha-Ka-Ri for the Vulcans. But whatever the case, their ancestors eventually split into two distinct subspecies, with the more socially minded, blue-skinned Andorians populating the surface, while the pale-skinned isolationist Enar made their home underground in the northern wastes, cutting themselves off from the outside world. As a consequence of this schism, they evolved distinct biological features, such as the Enar losing their eyesight but gaining a telepathic form of communication and sensory understanding. Losing contact until they re-established diplomatic relations in the 22nd century, for much of their history, Andorians believed the Enar a mere legend, and so developed independently, creating a militaristic culture known to be passionate, family-oriented, loyal, and honest, though they were capable of deception if absolutely necessary. Adhering to a strict honor code, Andorians always paid their debts and could invoke Ushan, a duel to the death for the sake of vengeance, fought with ice miner tools while tethered together. Uniting under an imperial government led by a chancellor, rank often determined social status, with service in the military called the Imperial Guard considered the highest honor. Viewing males and females as entirely equal, marriages involved groups of 4, with women displaying romantic interest by assaulting a prospective mate. Training great warriors, Andorians were naturally resistant to many environmental conditions, able to survive extreme heat and cold. However, their bodies also tired faster than other species, and so had a disadvantage in prolonged fights as they exhausted more rapidly. When an Andorian died in space, someone brought a piece of them back to Andoria, or else might take their blood for the Wall of Heroes, a monument honoring those deemed worthy. When their technology developed to the point of interstellar spaceflight, the Andorian Empire began to explore the Alpha and Beta quadrants, expanding their territory until eventually establishing diplomatic relations with many of their neighbors. Although initial contact with the Vulcan species was amicable, their vastly different cultures led to mistrust and border disputes by the 1950s Earth calendar, which continued over the next 2 centuries. By 2151, Andorians suspected the Vulcan government, known as the High Command, of spying on their empire through a long-range sensor array hidden within the religious monastery of Pajem. Yet even after the Andorians raided the monastery twice, no evidence of such an array was found. Nevertheless, suspicion remained, until Commander Shran of the Imperial Guard ship Kumari launched a third attack, this time taking the monks hostage. Soon enough, the human government of United Earth found itself dragged into the conflict when Captain Jonathan Archer and the crew of the Enterprise NX-01 arrived to visit the monastery, leading to their capture. Although this first contact between humans and Andorians began with hostility, Archer and Shran soon found common ground after discovering there really was a secret research facility under the monastery. Though Earth was an ally of Vulcan, Archer felt this deception unacceptable, and so gave the Andorians all their sensor data about the installation. While this decision drastically damaged Vulcan's reputation and their relations with Earth, it created a foundation of trust and respect between humans and Andorians. A few months later, the Andorians escalated the conflict by destroying the monastery of Pajem, which in turn nearly dissolved the Earth-Vulcan alliance, as High Command blamed Archer and humanity for the entire situation. These 3 regional powers next clashed when Captain Archer was kidnapped and held for ransom by a faction of Andorian-supplied rebels on the planet Corridan, fighting against their oppressive, corrupt Vulcan-allied government. The Vulcans overlooked the abuses of these leaders because they could not risk losing an important source of dilithium, which was an essential component for warp drive technology. Eager to strike against their enemies, the Andorians happily supported the rebels, but when Commander Shran discovered Archer was taken prisoner, he led a rescue mission which liberated the captain and the Enterprise first officer T'Pol. Though Shran technically acted against the interests of his own people, he felt there was no choice, as the Andorian Honor Code demanded he repay the debt owed from the incident at Pajem, where Archer sided with the Andorians against his allies the Vulcans. The following year, in 2152, the Vulcans and Andorians engaged in direct combat on the planet Waitan, fighting to a stalemate which led to peace talks between Ambassador Soval and Commander Shran. Unable to reach an agreement, Shran requested that Captain Jonathan Archer of United Earth mediate the discussion, trusting him to be impartial. Showing his diplomatic prowess, Archer successfully navigated their contentious arguments to reach a peace agreement that marked the first major step towards an eventual alliance between these three growing powers. Following the war for Waitan, the next interaction between Andorians and humans came in 2153, when the Enterprise was sent into the Delphic Expanse on a crucial mission to destroy a highly advanced weapon prototype created by the Xindi Alliance, an enemy preparing to attack Earth. Following their warp signature, Shran and the Kumari joined the Enterprise as an ally, offering assistance and helping with critical repairs. Yet the Andorians also had an ulterior motive, as Shran was ordered to steal the Xindi prototype weapon and bring it back to Andoria for study. When Archer learned of what they did, he was furious and activated a remote detonation system which forced the Andorians to eject the weapon before it self-destructed. Despite following the orders of his government, as was his duty, Shran felt guilty over deceiving Captain Archer, who had proven a valuable friend and ally in the past, and so secretly sent the Enterprise all technical and tactical sensor readings they collected from the weapon, which then played a key role in helping the Enterprise save Earth from a Xindi attack the following year, where Shran again arrived on the Kumari, this time with the sole intention of helping humanity defend itself. Events finally came to a head later that year in 2154, when Vlos of the Vulcan High Command betrayed his own people by making a secret deal to join the powerful Romulan Star Empire. The first step in this plan was to eliminate the Andorians as enemies and potential allies of Earth, by falsely claiming that Andoria was arming their ships with weapons based on Xindi technology, thereby creating a justification for a large-scale invasion of the Andorian Empire. Learning of what was about to occur through a Vulcan ally, the Enterprise warned Shran and the Andorians, giving them time to rally a defense. Still greatly outnumbered, the Enterprise joined the Andorian fleet to fight at their side against the Vulcans. Engaging in the Battle of Andoria, Minister Kuvok and the Vulcan High Command urged Vlos to withdraw, as their plan for a surprise attack was ruined, but his pleas were ignored. Yet once Kuvok realized the Andorians were not utilizing their so-called Xindi weapons, he used a moment of distraction to disarm the guard, stun Vlos unconscious, take command and order the withdrawal, ending the battle as a victory for the Andorian Empire. When the extent of the corruption behind Vlos was exposed, the entire High Command government was dissolved, leading to a Vulcan Reformation, where new leaders took power who were grateful to Earth and remorseful for their actions against the Andorians. The growing friendship between humans and Andorians not only resulted in peace with the Vulcans, but also the Tellarites, who were long-standing enemies of the Empire in conflict for over a century, with their most recent hostilities brought on over trade disputes. At some point, Andorian forces even attempted to send a fleet into Tellarite space, only to be repelled by defense forces. Seeking to end this conflict, Commander Shran was ordered to escort an Andorian ambassador to negotiate peace with a Tellarite delegation. However, the Romulans learned of this meeting and wished to sabotage any such agreement, as they sought to destabilize the entire region, keeping independent powers as enemies to facilitate the expansion of the Star Empire. Therefore, they destroyed the Andorian ship Kumari and killed the ambassador while planting evidence that Tellarites were responsible. Oppositely to the Star Empire, United Earth sought to aid in establishing peace between their warring neighbors, and so sent Captain Archer and the Enterprise to escort the Tellarite delegation and help mediate an agreement. On their way, they found the wreckage of the Kumari and rescued Commander Shran and what survivors they could. With both Tellarites and Andorians on board, the situation only got worse until an investigation revealed the Romulans as their true enemies. With the crisis averted, peace talks were successful, creating a situation where Andoria, Vulcan, Tellar, and Earth were all on good terms, while an enemy in the Romulan Star Empire lurked nearby, thereby motivating them to enter into more formal discussions of alliance between them. In 2155, Andoria, Vulcan, Tellar, Denobula, Rigel, Corridan, and a number of other worlds met on Earth to discuss the formation of a coalition of planets. And while the conference was nearly disrupted by the xenophobic human terrorists of Terra Prime, their efforts were thwarted and the talks continued. Seeking to disrupt this potential alliance before they could form a new regional superpower, the Star Empire launched the Earth-Romulan War in 2156, expecting an easy victory against this minor power. Yet the war dragged on until 2160, as the Andorians, Vulcans, and Tellarites all came to Earth's defense, ultimately defeating their enemy in the Battle of Charon to win the war. Seeing the benefits of working together, these worlds finalized an agreement and formed the United Federation of Planets in 2161 to be governed by an elected Federation President and Council comprised of representatives from member worlds. Although Federation headquarters were stationed on Earth due to their pivotal role in forming the alliance, Andorians as founding members were heavily involved in its operations, serving as politicians, diplomats, and Starfleet officers. Although much of the Andorian military was absorbed into Starfleet, the Imperial Guard continued to exist for some time, with the hero Commander Shran eventually rising to the rank of general, so that in 2164, he named his friend Jonathan Archer as an honorary member of the Guard. Once known for their prowess as warriors, over the next 2 centuries, Andorians gained a reputation as great artists and artisans, with the Andorian Academy considered the best art school in the entire Federation. Rising from a small, independent moon to one of the most influential species of the Federation, the years of peace and prosperity nearly ended in disaster when the mighty Dominion of the Gamma Quadrant launched a large-scale invasion of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants in 2373. Getting so close to victory, they captured Beta Z and raided Earth, leaving Andoria, Vulcan, and other nearby worlds vulnerable to attack. Yet they ultimately prevailed when an alliance between the Federation, Klingons, and Romulans succeeded in defeating the Dominion to re-establish peace. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Ambassador Alex Nunez, Sir Bob of the Buoy, Torque Frostbite, and Z Packwood. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.